All right, here we go. So, hello everyone, welcome to the Pivot Zero X Hub Masterclass. My name is Shantanu Sharma, and I head the operations at Pivot. For all those who do not know about us, Pivot is a global Web3 venture accelerator firm. Startup venture, we focus on accelerating early stage startups in this space. I will share my social links, our social links later in the chat as well. The Zero X Hub is an open masterclass initiative by Pivot, where we want to enable the Web3 startups and aspiring founders with knowledge from within the industry. All our sessions will be led by experts in the field. There could be founders, investors, angels, and many more. So we've already done about 12 of them. This is the 13th one. I hope it's a lucky one. And we will do at least one, two every month on different topics, related to technology, of the sectors, products, goals, leadership, everything that can help startups grow. So we started this new series of masterclasses called Build with Founders, in which we'll be, bringing young founders from the startups that we are accelerating. They will talk about the technology they're building on and how it can benefit this space and how it can benefit all those who are attending this masterclass today. It is my pleasure today to invite Abhishek Roshan once again. He's the co-founder and CEO at Metacraft AI. It's a brilliant startup under one of our acceleration program. Metacraft is pioneering Gen AI powered spatial design platform. I think you can think Canva for Web 3.0 games. I will leave the rest for Abhishek to elaborate. Abhishek, all over to you now. Please take it over. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Shantanu. 13 is a very strong number. So, coming back to me, I'm Abhishek. Already Shantanu has given us a short intro. I was a 3D designer. I turned into I started my first company back in 2020, which was more into service-based game development projects. We used to work with different gaming startup companies to build out their games, and we also worked with like a couple of CAD, CAM studios as well. And that was the first step when we started getting into 3D spatial designing. And that was the same time when Meta rebranded itself from Facebook to Meta. And that was the right time we just hit everything. So let me start our today's session. So we already completed one session, I think 2 weeks back. So cool. I think my screen is visible, Shantanu.
Yes, I mean, yeah, it is now. It is now visible. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So basically, in today's session, we will be more covering in depth around the XR space. In our first session, we covered what is XR, basically the umbrella terms, little bit how we are associated in the space, how we are working out in the content generation space for these XR applications. And in today's session, we are going to majorly covering up around case studies, how XR is going to be impacting different industries, different businesses, from education to manufacturing, and so on. So about me, I am 3 years into 3D designing. I was awarded Best Design Award by SAE. So I started Metacraft back in 2023 mid with focus around helping game development studios, 3D content designers to speed up the whole development process, launch immersive applications and different experiences. And when we think about XR, a lot of people confuse it with metaverse. Some people think it is more kind of a game, but I think in today's session, we are going, as we will be going in depth about the use cases associated with it. We will have more better idea that it is beyond just gaming. It is beyond just metaverse. It is something which is going to change how we interact. Right now, we are sitting in front of our laptops or phone and watching something on a flat screen, right? But what if we add some interaction to it? So here's one quote by CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen. So a lot of XR space is already focusing in this XR space. And we will be trying to understand that what is that one reason that despite so many failures in last 20, 25 years, when first XR app, a major XR app, I would say, VR Labs, which came up back in 2001. And it's been more than like 20 years now, and still we are working in this space. Many companies, Meta is into the hardware space with their Meta Quest, Ray-Ban. Snap has also entered with their AR goggles. And why so much attention in this space? So basically, XR at a surface
Abhishek,
level, yeah,
Abhishek, can I just pause you for a moment?
yeah,
Can you
sure.
just try to adjust your PPT because it's showing very low? So can you just pull it up a bit if it's possible? I'm not sure whether this is happening at my end or at.
Shantanu, is it better?
Okay, you continue. I think you can continue, please. Yeah, take it forward.
Okay. So XR, over a broad term, this is an umbrella of three different concepts, how we consume content. First one being like AR, VR, and MR. So here's a spectrum which you can see on top of the screen between physical identities, physical interactions, what you usually do on your everyday life, to how the digital interaction are. And you can put all these three terms, augmented reality, mixed reality, and virtual reality, in three consecutive manners. First one being AR, where you are actually interacting with some 3D asset or some sort of virtual asset uh, on your screen. And one of the best example would be Snap. If you, I think most of you would have used Snap or Snap filters. Even Instagram adopted the same thing when they fail to acquire Snap. So augmented reality is more kind of some digital content superimposed on your physical identities. You cannot interact with them, but you can just see them. Also, one another example would be filters, which you right now use on your phone. And then we have a totally digital environments, which we call virtual reality. I think most of you would have remembered about Google Cardboard. So Cardboard was the first VR box, you can say, back in 2010 when they launched. Less than $20 you have to pay to get your own VR box. And now even we have a much better option in less than $20. Something unique what you are noticing now is the MR, mixed reality. So most of the innovations in last 1 to 2 years, which you are noticing in the XR space, is in this MR space. Even Geo, one of leading India's biggest and the only MR goggle distributors. So MR is in middle of what you call a totally virtual environment to what you call a physical environment, where you are not just getting a superimposed content, but also something where you can interact with your physical, maybe your controllers or maybe your haptic devices. So that's how it looks like. So in the bottom of the slide, you can check out how it is to be fully immersed. Fully immersed are more kind of VR environments, and partially immersed are more kind of AR environments. And that's how MR is differentiated. And a lot of people find it difficult to understand mixed reality. And that's obvious because the first wave of XR was totally into VR back in 2005 and 2012, between that period. where we got different kind of uh, these headsets with different form factors and different visual identities. And later on, as the adoption of internet increased, we got augmented reality in our phone itself. And most of us would have used augmented reality somewhere in their lifetime, either on e-commerce applications or maybe on different social media platforms. And now, when we have better hardware, we are now noticing the adoption of mixed reality content. So, the below you can find and understand how basically these three interact with your visual spectrum. So now back to the XR space. So basically, XR space is dependent on a few major components, or you can say the pillars, which is going to be the X factor for the growth of extended reality. So, so far in our today's session, we are going to be focusing on four major concepts like hardware, then content and UGC content creation, user generated content, and other being like 5G, high speed data bandwidth, and different design tools which are right now available, and how we actually uh, help out to build the application layer for XR ecosystem. So I was showing the screen previously, and you can see most of these devices. So this is a graph picture from last 2 years, different headsets which were launched. And one of the major components you will find in all of these is 5G, be it even AR glasses, which support XR engine or OpenXR compatibility, or different VR devices which support different tracking location. And these two are the major devices. You will find some of the devices like XR 5G A3 and A4 supporting mixed reality as well. And one of the reasons why 5G is so important for the growth of XR space being the amount of data which is available right now. Comparing to like 2D experience, which you usually get on your screen, which are just a series of data having your X and Y component in the axis, how some picture or images, how the screen will look like. And those are quite small to manage. But in terms of XR, when you are no more limited to 2D content, you are actually interacting on a 3D content layer. And that's when the Z axis comes in. And the amount of data which is consumed to even show a simple 3D animation could be huge. And you can compare it, there are so many examples and marketplaces where you can check out how these two differ itself, where on some simple image, it could be like 512 into 512 pixel based image, which will have a size of a less than half MB, but a similar 3D model from that image can have more than 300K different meshes and vertex. So when we have so much data to process, when we have so much data to visualize, we need better internet. We need better connectivity so that live stream, live interactions, these things can be processed well. Even one of a major important factor in terms of XR is that you are no more processing just your visual data, what you like, what you are more attracted to, but you're also sharing your haptics, how you are moving your different body parts using your controller, how you are actually interacting with a XR device or maybe a headset. So there's more than 10 times the size of data which you are going to share when you are interacting with some XR device compared to some 2D content. So here, so this is a simple graph. So back in 2000, when we first got introduced with XR space, I already told you one of the applications, VR chat, was the major implementation of it. And we were more into LOD1 or LOD2 that period of time. But compared to now, in 2024, most of the devices which I showed you in previous slide, they are either on LOD3 or LOD6. And there's a huge difference because when you go from in the increasing order, you'll find these content to be more interactive. You are no more just visualizing this content, but also can interact with them on live interactions. And there's one more difference when you compare some content in an XR application compared to the level of detail, because LOD3 is more kind of a content which you can visualize using your VR headsets as well. But when you compare it with LOD6 content, there's the point of controllers and different haptic devices which come in, where you are sharing your physical data to interact with the digital world itself. And that's how most of the XR application framework look like. So this may look little complex, but I have a different image for you. This one. So this is how the major structure of XR application look like, be it Horizon by Meta or be it some other application, maybe on Apple Vision Pro, you find Figment AR. So this is something which is common with most of the applications. And in later slide, we will also understand why and why this structure is also a problem to a lot of them. So here you can see basically an application layer. You have some software on the user side, on user's headset, through which the person is interacting or giving some command using the controller. And the problem here is that it totally depends on the bandwidth and the hardware itself. One of the major problem which we had in last 5 years, even with Oculus, MetaQuest being very limited to in terms of RAM capacity, ROM capacity, and that created a lot of problem when some game wanted to be built on top of these hardwares. Despite having better consumption rate, better retention rate, you cannot deploy a good high-end game on these headsets because of they being so much dependent on bandwidth, better compute, and you cannot put a separate GPU on your headset. Otherwise, if it gets hot, you can't wear it for long. And that's one of the reasons why when last month Meta launched their Quest S, so that became a revolutionary step in terms of hardware adoption, because these glasses are much lighter, almost 10 times lighter than what we had by Oculus or maybe a Rift, and it's much better in terms of form factor. So here's one case study where you can see one of our partner client, IG Drones, how they integrated XR into their drone systems for mapping for different visual trainings. So they fitted a whole camera and scanning system using LiDAR and connected with VR optics. Using this, all the data which was scanned while they were flying their drone, they used to be trained to simulate a separate environment where these industries used to put their workforce to train on the different situations, even for flood relief or maybe scanning different agricultural lands or overlaying different disaster prone regions and live broadcasting, maybe some event. And in India, you have event every month, some festival or some occasion. So security becomes a concern, and that's where you need someone who can look after you if you cannot be present everywhere. And that's where you can integrate XR with different uh, in different solutions. Drone, you have healthcare, you have different industry applications which are now coming up, even from real estate visualization perspective. Think you can visualize your home, which is going to be completed in next 10 years right now. So one major question which comes in and where we fit in is what's AI in the XR space? Why we even need AI when we are talking about 3D content? So to understand like the basic dynamics, why AI is needed and why user-generated content is needed, we need to first understand how a XR application is being built and published. And this is the usual flow which we even follow when we want to build some application. First step being like you have to create some content and you can check out how you have so many options, but all of these platforms have some common problem. A lot of content is there. Sketchfab have more than 7 lakh content, which are free to use. Blender has another set of libraries, then Maya, Unity, and the problem with them is that they may be free, but to optimize them to make it compatible with your game LODs, you have to again rework on them. And then again, you have to rig it, add animations, or maybe you want to add some custom texture because obviously different assets on these platforms have different copyright systems. You may download it for free, but how you are able to use it in your game, that has some limitations. And then finally, publishing and content consumption. You wanted to publish it on console or maybe desktop, phone, or you want to launch it on some VR applications. So usually this is the flow, how our application is built. And when we try to focus on these components for building an XR application, we find that most of these can be simplified, can be optimized if these things can be automated. And that's where Metacraft also comes in. So this is usually how we work, where you first start with like images or some text or some visualization, maybe a sketch also. And we use it on top of GPT or AI engine to generate different images out of it, how the particular 3D model would look like. So a binary data is built from different perspectives, different radicals, and using those data, we create a 3D model out of it using a GAN engine. And once the content is with you, you can automate it. You have so many options. So you can start with like either a text prompt, like imagine you built a avatar of a warrior and you want to add few animations on top of it. So you can start with a text to generate how the particular character would move, how the character would react, and use those animations to build out your game. And that's where we simplify the whole design process as well for any XR application. Now, one more interesting factor when we are talking about XR space is that how it is impacting different gaming ecosystems. Obviously, gaming is something which all of us love to engage. We love to take part. We love to play. And even with XR space, like other major technologies which got adoption in last 20 years, gaming has been a key feature. Gaming space and XR space are more kind of a brother and sister, which are growing almost parallelly. If you check out some of last 20 years, how different games have brought the user base, you will find that despite more than a billion users this year so far, uh, XR space, XR devices has grown the user base by almost 100%. And that's something, one of a major reason why most of the big tech giants, hardware companies are trying to focus on this space because of the uh, adoption, because of the retention and the interest from people. Because with gaming, where you have a more kind of a dopamine effect, imagine you could not just visualize a game, PUBG or uh, Dota, but actually be part of the game using your VR headsets. Even I think if you guys have browsed well, last month, a whole setup was launched, something similar to Ready Player Me, where you have to wear a suit and you are then become a part of a game itself, not just having a visual understanding, but also physical understanding, where your suit will be giving you feedbacks, giving you shock waves when you are hitting a bullet inside the game. And that's one of the reason XR is going to become a major factor. The way we game is going to change. So that's a recent upgrade from Horizon. If you remember, we had a very unique avatar system back in 2021 uh, in the Horizon. Recently, they added an upgrade, so now they are more looking better. And this is one such graph from a recent StarTex, where you can see why most of these gaming industries are now actively launching their game on VR headsets. Usually, on average, if you are a mobile or PC gamer, you are engaging for 30 to 45 minutes on a game. But with VR adoption, VR games, you are using those games for at least 70 to 90 minutes, and that's almost three times more. And this is what even these companies want from you. The more you consume, the more better way they can monetize you. And that is one of the reason you will find in next 5 to 10 years, the XR component in the gaming space is going to change. Even right now, when we try to focus on some major problems with the XR space, I think you can check out one great blog by A160, where they covered how we need an engine which is not just limited to building games, but actually XR applications. Like I showed you the workflow of building a XR application, like in previous slide, you cannot follow the same thing in current game engines. A lot of aspect of these game engines are missing right now. You cannot create animations inside these game engines automatically. You have to use some plugin or go to a third-party platform like Maximum. And that's where the demand for a new ecosystem where people can create XR content for games, for industries, for different visualization, for learning content is going to be a high demand. Even recent Apple Vision Pro, if you check out, they launched the Vision Pro at a price point of $3,000. But when you compare it with MetaQuest, they have almost 25 times less applications on top of them. And that's one more reason why you are going to love VR gaming, AR gaming, MR gaming, and how you can actually go one step ahead when you are gaming with XR, where you are not just trying to visualize a game, but also interacting with game elements. And you have different devices. So now coming back to the last section of our today's session. So apart from gaming, what are the major industries where XR is creating a huge impact? So before we blindly enter or adopt XR application or we launch XR applications, we need to first understand where the need is. So that the mistake we did in the third wave of XR, so most of us know it as metaverse, we do not do the same mistake this time. So you need to first understand why you even need a XR application. If you check out Amazon or Flipkart or some of e-commerce apps, you'll find last 1 year, 2 year, they have started giving you a 3D view feature where you can check out how a particular 3D model, how a particular furniture, or maybe a glass would look like if you keep it on your home or at some table. So this is one use case where our e-commerce platform can give a better interaction, a more real life scenarios or experience to their user, and that's what you have to understand as well. Like, where is the need for building an XR application? Are you a manufacturing company which want to give a better training to their workforce, or are you a educational institute who want to give their student a better way to learn something? And when you understand that why XR needs to be there, there's one major point you need to focus on, and that is to how a certain content can improve your not just visual spectrum. So visual spectrum is something what you view, what you see, and try to understand, learn, or consume that content in a visual manner. With XR, you have an interaction layer as well on top of it, where you are not just visualizing something, but also interacting with them. And if you think that with our interaction layer on top of your user base, you can create better engagement for your business, better sales, better use case, then yes, XR is for you. So here's one more use case, how different learning institutes, training institutes are adopting VR in their workforce. And you will find that in a recent experiment, almost more than 90% of the students who went through VR training, they have better understanding, better learning and knowledge about the content. And that is obvious because you are no more just seeing something, but also experiencing it physically with your controllers or maybe some different haptics. Similarly, this is an example of a Toyota manufacturing unit based out of Japan, where they are using MR headset while they are setting up the whole car and door systems, where parallelly they can check how a particular nut or particular system would be fitted. Usually, if you have built out a cart or some, I've worked in an automobile industry, a car has more than 800 different micro parts. So obviously, if you have a smaller workforce with MR content, with a MR headset, you can teach them in a much better way, as well as guide them while they're working. So better safety and better results as well. Similarly, in healthcare, I think last year there was even world's first heart operation, which was conducted with MetaQuest, and something similar you can find being adopted in many hospitals and clinics based out of Europe, where during operations, a lot of these doctors are wearing these headsets so that and connected with their MIR machines, so that while they are operating the patient, they do not have to check again and again the screens. This way, they have better time to focus on the operation and less on screens. while getting guidance how the operation is going to be conducted. You can see one such operation in the backbone where the MIR machine is guiding where the needles are as well as how they are operating. So now open to questions. Would love to understand how the session was and answer any queries, any questions you guys have.
Thanks, Abhishek. I think this is fantastic. When you come to understand the uses of extended reality, or just a simple way of trying to change the way that you have a reality in place. Okay, I think that's where you know the average user needs to also understand where should be extended reality be used in some form or the other. I think that's very important. Okay, because ultimately, uh, the extent to which your XR is applicable in the industry is very important. One thing which you mentioned was have an objective to the use that you can have within the system. Okay, what is the objective that you want to use? The XR as
XR,
such.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that I wanted to have basically was the idea of the challenges that you as a proponent, as a founder, face right now. Okay, so what are the challenges that you're facing to be able to implement your goals and objectives for Metacraft? Okay, that is what I wanted to know really.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Specifically, why? Because if you see right now, uh, you do not have right resources when you are going to start building an XR app.
Mm-hmm.
You have to build these applications separately for if it's a VR device, if it's a MR device, or just a AR glass. And
Understood.
that's where even we have to face the challenge. And
Mm-hmm.
that is one of the reason, if you see how we have designed our roadmap, we are more focusing on the UGC based content inside XR applications, because
Uh-huh.
that is something you can keep it compatible everywhere. And as we go down the line, we have like new frameworks which are coming up, like OpenXR by Snapdragon. We have Microsoft Mesh, and different new frameworks are coming, which is helping to build content which is seamlessly compatible on these headsets. And also, this is not just a problem limited to us, but also with many developers right now in be it Apple ecosystem or be it in Meta ecosystem or be it in Vibe as well, because every device is different. Every device has their own OS. Apple is working on Swift. Meta is working on more Android-based ecosystem, and Vive is also working on a different OS. They are part of like Android ecosystem, but when you want to build something on Vive, you have a different set of tools. You have different set of framework you have to follow for there. And a major factor why this is in all of these application a major problem, because every device has their own set of position for the sensors. Meta has sensor positions more kind of in a center. On Vibe, you will find it on the corners, and with Vision, it's like all over. You have so many cameras. So, if you build the application on Meta, it will hardly be compatible with Vibe or Apple, because the position of the sensors are totally different now. And so you
Understood.
can, yeah,
Now, I think even more importantly, what is important here is that the convergence of these different sets, different systems that are being made. So Apple makes something else, and Meta makes something else. It's prevalent right now also. For example, an iPhone, the entire make of an iPhone is different from what an Android is. All right, and somebody using an iPhone cannot adjust to an Android. An Android application is not compatible to an iPhone, and vice versa. So I think there has to be some point in the future where a convergence needs to come, or maybe the one application or one people who base or the one company which has the most volumes as far as the user is concerned. They are the one who basically rule the rooks. So that is one way to look at it. But I think one more bigger factor here is the affordability for an individual. I mean, if you look at that movie called The Ready Player One, wherein the gaming thing was so you know it was so available for not available for everyone to be able to use. Okay, so when it comes to VR applications as well, I think it is very important to understand, will it be affordable for the normal user to be able to use and deploy, or even for a developer to be use and deploy the ideas that they have, or build applications on top of something else. The affordability could be a big challenge. What do you think?
Definitely. If I try to remember back in 2015 when I was totally into gaming, I remember when GTA San Andreas launched, the CDs were costing around like 5,000. And similar price range for other game, Far Cry or different studio games. So that time the pricing were like 5,000 and still people were buying. And same thing you will find even right now with XR Space. Though we have Meta has reduced the pricing for their headsets from almost $600 to now $300. Something you can find at the price of phones
Mhm.
and at the even better form factor. So I think the price is definitely a concern in maybe a developing country region, but in terms of developed countries, I think the price is already at a better range. Even XR devices shipments have been increasing from last 5 years. They have almost 10x. So obviously, I think adoption will be there. And I was reading a news. Foxconn also is going to set up couple of plants for mass production of different XR devices. So obviously, prices are going to fall in next 2 or 3 years. We will have cheaper headsets. Even Geo has already launched their headsets. Obviously, the quality is a bit low compared to Meta, but in terms of pricing, you can definitely get the VR headsets under 2000 INR. You can get AR goggles under 6000 INR.
Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah. So, very importantly, the affordability is something that can be questioned, and but of course, it all depends uh, on the use cases. As more and more people start using it, we'll get to see more and more things happening together. So,
Yeah,
I completely understand that point. Yeah, really. Okay, thank you so much. I think we are at the end of it. I think one more question which I had in mind was the Web3 angle in XR. Okay, but of course, we could probably use that as a separate masterclass altogether, where Web3 becomes the primary, showcasing element for the for XR as such. So maybe you
yeah.
could take it up some other day, or maybe, or if you have a point to make on that as well.
Yeah, actually, in our first session, I did covered something around Web3 space. And even in today's session, when I was talking about the data which you create when you are using a XR application, that is far more than any 2D content. And that's where Web3 can be a part of it, where you could keep data on different decentralized servers, but that is one part of it. So, another major part is the financial systems. Even with us, when we see different 3D marketplaces, XR app ecosystems, most of these, even Meta, they charge you like 35%. And when you're building a game or different experience app, you want to keep your own financial ecosystem or economy around it. What if that could be done using Web3? You could create your own set of tokens inside a VR sandbox and build your different worlds and content and monetize it in form of like NFTs with different 3D models having different identities inside those NFTs. I was also reading a news research paper by a student. So they were working on 3D asset compatible NFTs, how they are different from the NFTs which we have. Current NFTs store like metadata and binary data of the images, but with a 3D NFT, they are going to store the FCC data. Imagine I'm in front of you. You are seeing the front view of it. There is going to be a side view, rear view, and isotropic view. All these data are stored in your inside your NFTs. So in future, if there's some other user who is going to download the content, do the piracy, upload it again on some different marketplace or use it in some other application, you can easily figure out because of the series of data from different view and angles, because you cannot change view. If you can see that like there cannot be two different Shantanu, right? Because of the how we look. So you can find them easily. So that is also a new innovation which is coming up.
Yeah, interesting. Really interesting. Um, yeah, I think we are at the end of this entire journey of our understanding XR. I would like to really thank Abhishek here for coming up and talking to us about what this looks like and how can we really change it. And I'm sure people around will always find use of this particular interesting technology in some way or the other. And yeah, I think we can call it close today. Any last words you have, Abhishek?
Uh, Definitely. I think we are all in a very nascent stage when we even consider Web3 and XR. And there's still a lot of opportunities ahead for us. So definitely onto it, trying to see more use cases, how Web3 can also be integrated inside XR space, how AI can
Absolutely.
be
Yeah.
integrated with XR space as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, we'll have to look and probably find multiple different ways to be able to integrate different kind of technologies. And XR makes it a very great point. I myself have been a avid fan of games and gaming, and I believe that the first area of target for XR would definitely be game and the gaming industry, like you pointed out. And yeah, that's what it is all about. Thank you very much. I think it's end of this masterclass. Thank you very much, Abhishek, for being around and helping us understand what extended reality really is, how it helps, and what is the future, and how different industries can really leverage this technology. And of course, the Web3 space where we all belong to can also use the space as can use the technology as such. Thank you very much, Abhishek. For the others who are listening to it, the next session is going to be far more brilliant. It's going to be on decentralized AI and how each and every one of us can contribute to making the Web3 space much more safer and secure and more transparent. Thank you very much. We'll call it a day. Have a good one. Bye bye. Take care. Thank you, Abhishek.